So we're on Daf Lamed, Gimel Lamed Beis, and Maseches Beitsa. Again, we're continuing the Sugya, which in a way connects to a previous Gemora we've been learning about. What's called Tikkun Mana, the prohibition of fixing up objects to be utensils. And here Rabbi Yehuda says a very controversial statement that anytime you take something that's designated for animal food and you do something to it to make it a proper utensil, you're okay. It's mutter to do, on Yom Tov at least. And it seems like even on Shabbos, because the Gemora brings a Beitsa from Hilchos Shabbos. So that would seem to be mutter even on Shabbos, to take something that's designated for animal food and to do something even small to it in order to fix it up for your own personal usage, and it's not going to be considered like you made a utensil on Shabbos or on Yom Tov, which would have been usher, because we know already there were numerous Mishnayos that spoke about the prohibition of making a utensil on Shabbos or Yom Tov. And this, therefore, is not considered, according to Rav Yehuda the Amora, making a utensil. We had different ideas of why, but in the meantime, the Gemora is now trying to attack that principle from a Beitsa, which starts out talking about seemingly a very similar idea to Rav Yehuda, that it is mutter to do certain things to what's called atzei b'samim. And as Rashi says, atzei b'samim, wood that has a nice, pleasant smell, that people tend to use it, like today we would use it as like snuff, to smell, to have a good smell. So assuredly, Rashi says, Reb Kana is asking this question based on the assumption that
so it's saying that you are not allowed to do this.
Well, he's trying to show it's not allowed, but the presumption is that if we're talking about atzei b'samim, that we're talking about all kinds of atzei b'samim. And some of the atzei b'samim, the wood of the perfumed wood, the wood that has a good smell, some of it assuredly is soft, and soft enough to be eaten by behemoths. Just like they eat straw, they could eat this as well if it's soft enough. So if it's really talking about atzei b'samim that's soft, then theoretically it should apply the same heter as Rav Yehuda said applies to all animal food. And the beginning of the Beitsa seems to say that. All these
soft food. Talking about soft.
We're assuming, that's the point. There's an assumption that it's in this group called atzei b'samim, are at least some of them are going to be soft enough to be Michael Behema. If that's true, then according to Rav Yehuda, it should be mutter to make them into a kli. However, in the middle of the Beitsa, it turns around and says it's usher. The first time it says it's usher is when it's talking about taking it and cutting off part of it to smell. That already it says it's usher. And then it goes ahead and says, and if you cut off the end to make it more sharp, to use as a toothpick, not only usher, it's actually
no, it's not only usher, but besides it is also chayav.
Right. So as we would say in our vernacular, it's super duper usher. Right? Something that's chayav chatas means it's usher d'oraisa. Right? So it's not only usher d'rabbanan, it's usher d'oraisa. So this is the opposite, 180 degrees opposite of what Rav Yehuda had said. He had said if you take animal food and make it into a kli, into a utensil, it's mutter. Mutter even midrabbanan. And this is saying not only is asur midrabbanan, it's even asur d'oraisa, it's a chatas. So, this is, as we call it in Spanish, probleme. Muy probleme. Big problem. However, how does Rav Yehuda take this? first he deflects, right? So maybe that's why the Gemora is bringing it down, to show you that even when someone brings against you a very big question, don't be knocked down by it. Don't be like completely flustered and befuddled. No. You know how you react? Deflect. The first answer, he doesn't really give an answer. He deflects. You know how he deflects? What, it's not enough that you bring a kasha against me that it's us, or you even have to bring a kasha that it's chayiv chatas. You have no rachmanis on me. You bring like such a hard kasha against me.
Jewish guilt.
It's a good way. It's a good way to start. Right? You get your bearings straight. Right? That's sometimes it seems like it's useless to talk about things that don't even matter. Does it matter what kind of kasha he brought from a husser, from a chatas? But it gave him time to get his bearings straight, right? So maybe it's teaching us a lesson that when someone asking what we call a bamba kasha, you think, oh my gosh, everything I said is wrong. Take your time, right? Deflect a little bit. Ask him, where'd you get that shirt? Deflect a bit. Give yourself time to think about it, let your mind work a bit more, and then you'll think of the answer. Sometimes you can't think of an answer right away.
Not a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, so I think it gives time to them. Plus, there's some kind of musar there that maybe Rabbi Yehuda was bigger than him in learning. Not clear who was bigger than whom, but maybe, Rabbi Yehuda, the Gemora says in other places, an incredible Talmid Chacham. Maybe he was giving a bit of musar, like, you should have a little bit of derech eretz. Don't ask those kind of kashas on you. Ask a little bit softer. Still ask the same kasha, a little bit easier. Okay, Matt at least responded to one of my questions. So he says, Baruch Hashem, I'm here, which I don't know what that means, and he asked me who the speaker was last night. So that's all I know about that so far.
How'd you know?
I just told you what I know.
Yeah.
You think I'm a Navi? You can appreciate the compliment. I tried to tell you exactly what I got as a message from him so that you won't even worry that I know more than I know, because I don't. I know exactly what he wrote me back. He says, Baruch Hashem, I'm here, which I don't know what it means, and then he said, who's the speaker list? I replied, Rav Susha. Beyond that, it's up to you to call him and find out if you really want to know who it is. Okay?
Listen, even back.
And call me back. I'll give you his number. I don't need to be in the middle of the equation. I have enough on my plate. Baruch Hashem, on the phone, not like Yaakov Shvaki who lost his phone. All right, gentlemen. So first, deflect, and also, if there's a bit of musar, make it sound musardik. It's always better. Your deflection shouldn't sound idiotic, like. Who's behind you? Right? There's no one behind you. Right? Better ways to deflect than that. So he deflected, then he found an answer. So what's his deflection? Amrlei. It's good practice for the word hashta. Amrlei hashta, blah, blah, blah. What's his hashta business?
Now that you have sit. Now
that would be me'ata, element me'ata, is like something. Now you said that, blah, blah, blah. No. This kind of hashta is like saying, wait a minute now. It's like, slow down. Now let's think about this. That's kind of now it is. You ever hear someone say, now, let's think about that. That's this kind of now. Try that.
Now that you said it, think about it.
No, not now that you said it. That's not what I just said.
No, let's think about it.
No, let's think about it. Slow down. You ever heard the expression pound out, pound out? Okay. Slow down. Now. Because when you think about it, you're ridiculous. Because what? Pater aval aser. Earlier in the Beitsa it already said pater aval aser, so pater aval aser. The fact that it's pater aval aser, what? Who's reading?
What's all us? Kashmiri. This is difficult for me.
Meaning it's already difficult. That's kind of the now.
Right.
Now, it's already difficult on me, the first thing you asked, which is the first part of the Beitsa that already got into Patra of Al-Asr. It's already against what I said. So if you already asked that on me, it's already kashali. Then if you think about it, Chayev Chatas Niboya?
You really want to say...
Do you need that? Do you need to go that far to ask a kasha on me?
It's difficult to edit it, but also it's not bad, so...
Make my life even worse, right? You're rubbing salt into the injury. Have a little bit of rachmanas when you ask a kasha. You don't have to ask the hardest kasha in the world. It's not to ask the kasha. A normal kasha is hard enough. So you should have, right? It's like, the extra is like gloating. Not only you wrong, because it says Patra of Al-Asr, but you're really wrong, because it says Chayev Chatas. That's not nice. It's not there. So it's giving you a bit of musar, right, in the deflection. So let's go over it again. Hashta, now, think about what you're doing, because Patra of Al-Asr, Kakashali. It's already difficult on me what you asked in the first part of the Mishnah, where it said Patra of Al-Asr. It's already difficult, presenting it difficult for me, which I'm now challenged to answer. Chayev Chatas Migoya? Did you really need to pile on that extra kasha of Chayev Chatas? Is that really necessary? Or is that just to gloat?
To gloat.
Not a good meter to gloat. Right? You shouldn't gloat when you're asking someone a kasha. Try to be a bit more humble. Like the British would probably. Excuse me, sir. You may be wrong in that exact dimension.
Be polite.
Be polite. You're making someone feel uncomfortable because you do have something which presents a difficulty to their shita. At least do it with derech eretz. Don't gloat. Okay, but still, after all is said and done, if he doesn't have a good answer, it's kind of like, who cares? The answer is, he does have a good answer, but he still wanted to put in that musar vor, which also might have been giving him time to think. He was deflecting as well. Okay, so the answer is, but rather I can answer the kasha to tell you the following. Right.
The grass is talking about hardwoods.
Okay, so what's the word key?
Key, when?
Right, it's like a rhetorical. When is this Beitsa talking? About being chayev chatas and being asr. You're right. It is chayev, it is asr. But when is it talking about that it's chayev and it's asr? Kashin. With what?
Hardwood.
Right? And I never said anything about hardwood, because if it's hard, by definition, it's what? Not animal food. And I only said animal food is, you can take it and make it into a utensil and it won't be a problem. And automatically, I'm talking about soft things, because animals eat soft things. So if this is only talking about hard things, the fact that it's chayev chatas or asr doesn't bother me. It's out of my league. It's not something I was talking about at all. So now we see from the new answer of Rav Kana to that point what he was originally thinking. What was he originally thinking? Why did he think this is talking about animal food as well? Look at the answers.
Kashim B'nai Lila Nini.
You know? Tennis court's closed today?
So it's a rhetorical question?
Yeah.
The hard is
The name means it's susceptible to it, or it's applicable to it. B'nai Chutzlaretz means you're part of the group of people in Chutzlaretz. Is it part of that group? Are hard pieces of wood part of the group of what? Are they B'nai Melila? Are they part of the group of Melila things? Melila things mean things you could
squashing your fingers.
Crumble a bit in your fingers, right? Things that if you apply pressures between your fingertips, they crumble a bit. They squash and produce smell. Right? Is that possible?
So, this is Rabbi Yehuda.
No.
No, Rabbi
This is
Kahana.
Rav Kahana saying, how can you, Rav Yehuda, claim that this price is talking entirely about
Hardwood.
harder wood, and therefore it's not Michael Behema? That's not true. Because the first part of the price, it clearly talks about Melila, that you're doing Melila on this wood, and Melila to a hard piece of wood doesn't apply. So this price is definitely talking about softer wood. If it's talking about softer wood, then it's talking about Michael Behema. It's talking about Michael Behema. And it says later on you're not allowed to fix it up into a toothpick. Then it shows that Rav Yehuda must have been wrong. Rav Yehuda said, I'm allowed to take Michael Behema and make it into a toothpick. In the first Rashi. What does the top Rashi say? When Rav Yehuda said you can take it and make it, what does Rashi say? The very end of the first line in Rashi, Umutter Liktom. According to Rav Yehuda, it's going to be Mutter Liktom. And not only that, Ulatakin Kashel Shubalim, Shabbos even, Lachtzos Shina. You can fix up something to be a proper toothpick, as long as it's Michael Behema, animal food. And now it's saying in this Beitsa that it's something that you could do Melila to, which proves it's talking about something that's soft. And if it's soft, then it qualifies as Michael Behema. And if it's Michael Behema, the Hakam says at the end of the Beitsa, you can't make it into a toothpick. I thought if it was Michael Behema, you're allowed to make toothpicks. That's what Rashi originally said.
Yes.
What's going on? Rav Kahana's all upset and in a tither or in a tizzy or whatever. Right? Today they would send a Twitter all over the world about it. They would tweet about it. They would tweet a Twitter all over the world. That kind of bird talk that people know today. How to read a Twitter, tweet a Twitter.
What is Twitter? Is that?
It's a message, just like you send a message in WhatsApp. This goes to like everybody in the world. If it's bad, if it's good, it's good. They say Shabbatai is the greatest guy in the world. Is that Rechilus?
Well, it's kind of Lashon Hara.
Why is that kind of Lashon Hara?
Because I think some people might say, oh yeah, you know what he did?
So that's called avak. That can encourage his enemies to start up talking about him.
That's right.
Okay, so I should be a little bit more modest when I talk about my Talmidim. He's a good guy. That also we learned Rechilus. Someone's going to say you're a bad guy.
No, I need bad guys.
Right. I just have to put in I don't know, even no matter what you say, you're going to encourage. All right.
Let's first talk about people.
Shabbatai Jacobson is a Talmud of mine. Someone's going to write in, do you know what that louse did to me? So no matter what you write, it's going to end up causing Lashon Hara.
Only one person?
At least. It's the beginning. That's the avalanche theory. All right, gents. I think we're on track again. Let's not get off track again. So, who's on the offensive and who's on the defensive? So far, who's winning? Kana attacked him. See over here it says Chayav Chatas. What are Rav Yehuda say? You're hitting me with a very hard stick. Literally. Right? So he answered him, this Beitsa doesn't affect me because it's hard wood. What did Rav Kana say? No, it's not. There's for sure softer wood included in this Beitsa, because it talks about Malila. So who's winning so far? Rav Kana. It's a good proof. Talking about Malila. Malila includes soft wood. So it's even saying on that you can't make it into a toothpick. What? Rabbi Yehuda should say that applies to Michael Behema. If this Beitsa is talking about softer wood, it is talking about Michael Behema. And what's it saying about Michael Behema if it's really talking about softer wood? You can't make it into a toothpick. Is that against Rav Yehuda? Did he say you could take Michael Behema and make it into a toothpick?
Yes.
Where did I see that? Or he's even saying that? In the top Rashi.
Yeah.
What does the top Rashi say at the end of the top line? The top line, end of the top line. Mutter. Oh! It's mutter to do what? Likton.
Cut.
Even afterwards, Rashi says the end of that Rashi, even lachzo shina. That means I'm allowed to take Michael Behema and cut it up to the point, literally to the point where it's a toothpick. And yet this Beitsa seems to be saying not that way. Because what does the Beitsa say? If you make a toothpick, you're chayav chatas chas v'shalom. Is it only talking about hardwood, or is it even talking about softwood?
So we're talking about softwood.
What's the proof?
Malilos.
That's Rav Kana's point. So, yeah, it's talking about soft wood, which is Michael Behema. And it's saying you can't make a toothpick, and if you do, you're chayav chatas. Oh my gosh. That's completely against Rav Yehuda now. What's he going to do? So he has to take out the surgical knife and start cutting up the Beitsa. Like a surgeon. Cut. Put extra stuff in there, and then make it a new Beitsa. Remodel the Beitsa. Right? Like you remodeled your house, he's remodeling the Beitsa. Okay? And that's called in the Lashon of Chazal
Sur Mechzer.
because Suri Mechzra tells you what something's missing. If something's missing, that gives you a license to start chopping it up and redoing it, remodeling it. So how's it going to look when you finish remodeling it? Hachikatan. This is what it should be saying, and after my little tikkun, it will be saying the following. So now imagine that you had never read the first Beitsa. This is the real Beitsa. What? Molalo. Which means,
you can roll it and smell it.
and it's talking about Atzei B'Samim, you can roll it and you can smell it, which is in line with what Rabbi Yehuda said as well. Kotmo.
Maria.
You can even chop it up and smell it. And Rashi says, Hu Hadin, you can make it into a toothpick. Right, we have this kasha. Why is it only going so far as to say you could smell it? He was saying from the top Rashi, you could even make it into a toothpick. And yet when he remodels the Beitsa, he's making it fall short of that. Is he giving in? I thought he was giving in a bit. But Rashi doesn't learn that way. Rashi learns that Yehuda didn't give in. So why, when he remodeled the Beitsa, didn't he go so far as to say make it into a toothpick? As Rashi says, Urcha de Milsa Nakat. What's Urcha de Milsa? The common case. See the Rashi there? Urcha de Milsa Nakat. You see the Rashi? Last two words, a little bit below where we are in the Gemora. A touch below. Rashi at the end of the line says, Urcha de Milsa Nakat. Yeah?
Yes.
See it, Shabbatai? Well, look, you know where we are in the Gemora?
Yes.
Go across right into the Rashis and go down like 3 lines. Kod Mo Moriach.
What's the first word?
First word in the line is Ra'uim. If you go across from where we are in the Gemora and then go down 2 lines.
Okay.
Kod Mo Moriach. Filo L'Chadchila, Rashi says, you're even allowed to do that in L'Chadchila, which conforms with Rabbi Yehuda's heter. Even to make it in toothpick would have been mutter. So why didn't the Beitsa mention if it's mutter? Right? So Rashi right away answers that kasha. Ella, but you know why I didn't talk about it? Because Urucha Demilsa Nakat. Whoever wrote this Beitsa took a case which is the common case. Talk about what's common. What's common is to take this type of wood and want to smell it, but not make it into a toothpick. Why? Why wouldn't people need toothpicks? Toothpicks are very handy things to have. The answer is no. She'ein derech rachin v'saknon lachzos. That it's not what?
It's not the way to
take the soft wood
to use it as a toothpick
and to fix it up to be a toothpick. Right? Because I understood that to mean, because then you push it through your, you know, it's like, you know what it's like? You ever try to take something out of between your teeth with like a piece of paper? Because you had nothing else around, so you just took this piece of paper and went like, trying to get it between your teeth. You ever do that?
Yeah.
What ends up happening, like the paper just crumbles up. It doesn't really do very much. If you're really, really lucky, it'll catch on one little part of the particle of the food and it'll dislodge it. But it's very uncommon, really, just basically, you know, not doing anything really effective. Just taking something soft and pushing it through your hard teeth, right? Something's caught between your teeth. 2 teeth are very hard. You have to get it in this tiny little crack that's between 2 hard teeth. So normally if you take a soft piece of wood and push it through,
Yeah. Then it's not a problem.
No, it is a problem.
if you take something soft and you try to push it into a hard little space, what ends up happening?
Then it's in the food.
If I take something soft and I push it into a hard little place, what's going to happen?
Close it to bleed.
Huh?
When close it comes to bleed.
Now, think about the object then. What happens to that object? I'm pushing it into a hard little place, and it's soft. It's a soft thing. Think of a pea. You know a pea?
Yes.
Very soft little thing. You ever try to clean your teeth with a pea? Because what's going to happen as soon as you start to apply pressure?
And it's up.
Squash it.
It'll what?
It would disintegrate.
Disintegrate. Exactly. So if you have this wood, this called soft wood, that crumbles between your fingers. We said, if you go like that, it crumbles. Right? It's a b'nei melila. And you're going to try to use it as a toothpick? What's going to happen when you start pushing it into between your teeth?
It's going to disintegrate.
Exactly. If you're lucky, as it's disintegrating, also catch a bit of the food. So you get the food, maybe the food will come out. It's a very long shot, very big long shot, right? It doesn't normally work. So Rashi is not the derech of people to do it. If you're desperate, you'll do it. It's not the normal way. So that's why, even though it's mutter, it wasn't mentioned because it's not the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And we like to talk about normal things, not weird people and weird things, if we can avoid it. Okay, weiter. Again, Hachi Katani, this is how the Beitsa should read, that you have the softer wood, you can be mololo, mariachbo, and you can even be kotmo, mariachbo, and you can even make it into a toothpick if you wish, but it's just not the normal way. And most people don't do it, they didn't mention the Beitsa. But what do those 3 letters mean at the end of the line? Groshe Tevos, Bemed Devarim Amorim, which means what?
When is it true?
When is that true? When is that really applicable? That what? We just said that there's a heter or an isser. What did we just say?
It's a heter.
There's a heter. So basically it's like saying, and when is that heter true? When do I allow you to make it into a, let's say, a toothpick or whatever? That's only...
It's the rachin is soft.
With, the base would mean, in this case, with. With, or in a case, I guess you could use the word in as well. In a case of rachim, where you're talking about softer wood, then we'll let you do it. Because, why if it's soft is it okay? Because when it's soft, what?
What does that first tense mean?
It's three separate words, although two of them are joined together usually. Bemeh.
Yeah.
Okay, that means in what or with what? Devarim, words or things. Amuri, is it being said? Basically, in which situation are all these words true to be said? So in the case they were talking about that there's a heter being spoken about, in which case is that heter really applicable?
It's about soft, in case of soft.
Only with softer wood. And why does that make it mutter if it's softer wood? Because then we look at it as what? What do you think helps when it's softer wood?
It's carrot.
What's better about softer wood?
It's got a smell.
No. Because then it's called Michael Behema.
So soft wood is called Michael Bahir.
Animals can eat it. It's just like they eat softer straw, they eat softer pieces of wood as well, apparently. So if it's true, then it applies, according to Rabbi Huda, the heter of, what he said at the top of the page. What did he say at the top of the page? Ochle Behema, foods of an animal,
Yes.
Ein Behem,
Shemtikon.
Shemtikon, Tikon Kli. You don't have any problem of fixing them up into a Kli. So that's according to him what the Beitsa starts out by saying. You can make it into a snuff box thing, or you can make it even into a toothpick according to Rashi, as long as what? It is the, what kind of wood?
Soft.
Softer wood. Why does that make it better? Because if it's soft,
It's Michael Bahir.
it's Ochel Behema, and then according to Rabbi Yehuda before, as long as it's Ochel Behema, you can do whatever you want to it. But Aval,
Kashin loy.
because if you're dealing with what?
Hard pieces of wood.
Harder pieces of wood that aren't Michael Behema, then we say
Lo yiktimin.
you're not allowed to chop off the end to try to make it into a kli. And
Kitmoy Patra.
if you did it, you chopped off the end, but you didn't try to make it a toothpick, you're just trying to smell the end, use it as a smelling tool, then it's only patra of al asr. Because it's not really a kli yet. But if you did it laxos boshinav, if you're trying to cut it off for laxos boshinav to make a toothpick, V'im kitmo. Good. Okay, are we good?
It's hot outside.
Well, are you feeling this fan?
Even so, it's still it's hot.
Okay, I agree with you. But let's try
What's outside? Inside is also
to energize ourselves. How can we energize ourselves?
3 cups.
To think. If this is Michael Behema and you can still make a sugya out of it, imagine how holy the Torah is. You take animal food and make a whole sugya out of animal food. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Okay. Weiter. Let's continue on.
Okay, that's really good up to it.
Okay. Let's continue on then in the Gemora.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tani Chada.
Kotmo.
No. Oh, yeah.
What does Tani Chada mean?
For the ones, Mishnah?
No, Beitsa.
Beitsa.
We learned in one Beitsa it actually said what
Kotmo Mariach Boy.
Kotmo means you're allowed to
Cut.
cut it off, cut off the end, and
Mariach Boy.
Riachbo.
I smell it.
Yeah, which is what we just said in the Surah Extra of Rabbi Yehuda when we fixed up we remodeled the Beitsa, we came out like that as well, as long as it's softwood. V'tanya idach
I told another Beitsa, like
lo yiktamenu.
Mariach.
You're not allowed to cut off the end. Lahariachbo to.
Smell it.
So how would you explain the contradiction? One Beitsa says
You aren't allowed to cut it off and smell it. Another Beitsa not allowed to do that.
not allowed, right? So it seems like a straight-on contradiction, right? So what would you think the answer is? Maybe one is written by one Tana, the other is written by another Tana, but so far we haven't seen a Machlokas Tanoim in this. So to say there's a Machlokas Tanoim would be shver. But how would we explain the contradiction? What tools do we have so far for answering this kind of contradiction? We already had one set of tools, right?
Yeah.
The difference between being, we already saw in the Beitsa, according to Rav Yehuda, after the Surah Extra remodeling, one half of the Beitsa was saying it's mutter, the other half said it's aser.
Yes.
What part of mutter is what? B'med davar mamurim, berachim. That's what Behem. B'med davar mamurim. That was what it said. B'med davar mamurim berachim. We said because that's Michael Behem, I guess. And the Baal Kashin, you have a different halacha. So we already have the tools for figuring out what's mutter and what's aser based on this answer of Rav Yehuda that if it's hard, it's likely to be aser. If it's soft, it's likely to be mutter. According to what he's saying, works out very nicely. So how would you think the Gemora is going to answer this? Because we have to say one of these Beitsas is talking about
It's soft.
soft, so it's Michael Behem, that makes it mutter,
One's a little bit hard.
and that makes it not Michael Behem, and therefore it's aser. Okay? So originally we said it's Rav Yehuda's shita, and Rav Kana seemed to disagree. We weren't sure if Rav Kana really agreed with Rav Yehuda's Chisura Mechsura thing. So I would have called it a Machlokas, Rav Yehuda versus Rav Kana. I wouldn't necessarily know how to paskin. Would you know how to paskin if you know this is Machlokas, Rav Yehuda, the Amora, Rav Yehuda, the Amora, and Rav Kana? Would either of you know how to paskin? I wouldn't necessarily know who's bigger in the eyes of Chazal. But now, does it look like it's only one person against the other? We had two Beitsas that contradicted. Who came to the rescue to answer up these Beitsas? No, read it again, what you just read. After Tani Chada this, Tani Chada that, and then we had someone coming to the rescue. Wait, so how many rabbis are involved now? Rabbi Zera, in the name of Rav Chisda. So maybe Rabbi Zera doesn't really hold of it, he's just reporting what his Rebbe said. But at least Rav Chisda is holding this position. So now is it only Rav Yehuda versus Rav Kana?
Nope.
Rav Chisda is joining which side of the argument? Whose side is he joining? Republican or Democrat? To say what?
Only by Michael by Emily or without cut. The word is hard no out of cut.
And that's not like Rav Kana, who seemed to say what? That's right. This will seem to go against that because he's saying the Beitsa that said it's mutter is talking about Rachim, that would conform with Rav Yehuda, and the one that says it's not is talking about Kashim. Good.
Yeah.
And maybe, by the way, remember one of the things Rav Yehuda said is, why don't you? If there exists a Beitsa that just says Aser, that should have been the one you brought against me. That's how Rashi learned, right? When he was asking his kasha about how he asked the kasha. He said, look, if you would have found a brisa that just said usher, that would have been enough to ask against me. So why didn't you basically find one of those? How did you know there existed one? He said, here we have another brisa that says it's usher, right? It doesn't say chayiv katas here. Tanya chada kodmo, Tanya idach lo yiktamena. Lo yiktamena means it's usher, but it doesn't say chayiv katas. So if Rabbi Yehuda knew there's this brisa that exists, he's basically also giving Rav Kana a bit of musar that if you had looked a little bit more, that's actually how Rashi says it. If you would have found that brisa, you should have asked me from that brisa. But when I read that Rashi, I was like, but he didn't find it. So what timing do you have against it? So what's the answer? But if he looked a little bit harder, he could have found it. Because how do we know it exists? It says it right here. Tanya idach. Right? Lo yiktamena. It doesn't say chayiv chatas. Right? Anyhow. Okay, that's neither here nor there. So here we see that Rav Chizda and possibly even Rabbi Zera is holding like Rabbi Yehuda. So if I have to choose a side now, it's much easier. So it's not only Rabbi Yehuda versus Rav Kana, it's Rav Yehuda and Rav Chizda, and possibly even Rabbi Zera against Rav Kana. And even Rav Kana, do we know that he rejected the Chisura Mechsera? Did he object to the Chisura Mechsera, or seem to accept it?
I think he seemed to accept.
Seem to accept it. We don't see any objection to it. Okay, that's a moot point. Maybe he just didn't bother talking about it. Maybe it's clear that that's a very difficult thing to say Chisura Mechsera. Take out the surgical knife and cut it up and remodel it. Everyone understands it's a bit difficult. So maybe he didn't have to agree. If he disagrees, whatever. Okay, enough of that. Let's go on. There is still someone against this whole thing. But it turns out he's not even asking on Rav Yehuda anymore. Look what he's asking on. So now we have a new rabbi, right? So now you'd say maybe I'm going to add him to Rav Kana's list and it'll be 2 against 2. But look what he asks on. Oh. So is he even questioning the Rachim part anymore? No. So it sounds like Rav Yehuda is in the clear.
Yes.
Now we're trying to question what was always held in esteem, that the opinion was kasha, then it's for sure usher, even maybe chayiv chatas. That's what he's now broaching that subject. He's saying, wait a minute. You guys are always sure that if it's hard, it's usher, maybe even chayiv chatas. But why? Am I low?
Why shouldn't be chai?
Why should that be chai? Why should it be usher? Because my shna.
What's michal from that?
Disna. We learned in a Mishnah in Maseches Shabbos.
Yes.
Chuf Mem Vav.
Shove adam esachavis achol minena. Because it can break a barrel to eat from it. Quagores.
Right.
Figs.
Right. So let's picture the situation. I have a barrel, and barrels in those days were made out of pottery, and not necessarily like our barrels that are made out of wood. I don't know if it makes a big difference, but it could be. Somebody I know wanted to say that it makes a difference to thinking it is more of a pottery kind of a barrel. Anyhow, so you're taking what? Some kind of a huge knife, a huge axe, and you're breaking it open. Right? Someone lost the key or whatever. It seems like it's sealed up. Right? You're chopping it open.
Yes.
Breaking it open. Right? Which, by the way, is very similar to today, when people get these packages of potato chips or any other package. Right? Theoretically, you have the same problem. How do I get it out of there? It's all sealed up. So it says you're allowed to break it open as long as what? You're not mechavan to make a kli. Now, what kli would I be making? It's already a barrel.
Yeah, but it's...
The problem is, it's a sealed up barrel. You can't use a sealed up barrel. So how can you use a barrel that has a proper opening? So if you're making it in a way that's going to make a proper opening, that's why when people take these bags and they open them up all along the top, it's the perfect opening now. Theoretically, you just made a kli. Nice bag with an opening. There are people who say, no, it was already a kli, blah, 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 blah. But the truth is, this barrel also, the Rashi learns that the pshat is, it's a regular, like I said, barrel made out of pottery. And then what they used to do, Swirly, they used to take a lid and stick it on with like mud, something sticky, right? Resin, something else, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lid on the top, but if you take that lid off, let's say, it's still the same barrel underneath. It's just like the case of the bag. That's a bag before they sealed it up with potato chips in it, and then you just open it up along the seal. It's the same bag, but l'chorah it's the same as the barrel, right? They don't want you to make it perfect opening. Okay?
Why?
Because you're making a kli.
It was a key beforehand.
But it's not usable, so you're like making it back into a kli from when it wasn't usable.
So I putting a cookbook in the shovels.
Okay, all I can tell you is a lot of people seem to be makel, but I try to be machmer doing that. But that's for a whole different reason, by the way. That's for a whole different reason, because there, the top is not a kli.
Right.
And when you're twisting it and that little thing comes off, now the top becomes a kli that never was before. But here, from this Gemora, it's mashma that even if you're not doing anything to the top, all you're doing is removing the top that was indelibly attached to the bottle, and you're now removing it, that itself could be if you're making a proper opening. So, whatever the answer is in the bottle thing, you have to look in the modern posting to see if you can find people to rely on or whatever. But all I'm saying is that this Gemora is a bit of an eye opener.
A lot of people want to open up wine bottles on the shelves. They open up
That might be the same idea. That might be the same idea because you're taking it out up as a perfect thing, even though it always existed.
I'll catch your oil in it.
In the cork?
No. The bottles that are covered with plastic.
Oh, that's a different. That's the same as Coke bottles then.
That cork you cannot do that.
But anyhow, I'm just saying it's not so simple. I'm not. First of all, you never posted from a Mishnah, so this won't necessarily influence our halacha in terms of modern halacha. I'm just saying this does stop us to think about many cases that we're so used to may not be so simple. When you open a potato chip bag, maybe it's better to open it up on the side in a way that it's not a perfect bag anymore.
You can get two people to hold the bottle.
That's true as well. That's doing with a shinui. Then you're taking it. If it's a malacha d'oraisa, you're doing a shinui, you just take it down to rabbanan. But if it's only to rabbanan, then that would help to bring it down to heter. But you have to know, if we're talking about d'oraisa, that would help bring it down to rabbanan, and still would be a problem. Okay. Anyhow, let's just read what the Gemora says. So the first thing it says over here is that you're allowed to, right? Now we have to get the heter. You are allowed to break open a barrel to get out of it the gross.
Yeah.
These, are they figs or dates? I can't remember.
Where's Rashi's there?
I think they're dates. Remember that other one we had in Yuma? Was the amount you're not supposed to eat on Kippur. Grogus, they're talking about the other
Kotevet?
yeah, Kikosevis, that's right. Kosevis, that's it. That's a date. This is actually that's a fig. This is a date. In any event, okay, so the point being, by the way, Rashi doesn't translate grogus, he just uses the word grogus. Okay. So how would you tell me this halacha if I was like a beginner? Trying to tell me how to keep Shabbos.
Don't eat gross.
Careful, if you're too mocking, you're going to scare the Baal Tshuva away.
So first, not to break open the barrel to eat, to take.
I don't want to hear what I can't do. Tell me what I'm allowed to do.
Let it break open the barrel to eat
Oh,
gross.
good.
Provided that you don't have kavanah to make a kli.
Very good.
Or take something and break it, or eat something.
So on the one hand, that sounds like as long as in your mind you're not having kavanah. Sounds like I would do the same thing in both cases, having in mind and not having in mind the same action. But if I do that same action of breaking it open with in mind to make a kli, then it's
Potter, right?
if you had in mind to make a kli, what would happen? It says it's mutter to do if you had in mind not to make a kli,
And you had a man to make a deal behind.
or usr. It's not clear which.
But if you're trying to get to these figs, the idea is not to do anything, it's just to get to the figs.
But you're breaking open the thing,
But
which
you-
automatically creates an
You
opening.
don't have intention.
Okay, but that's the point. If you're thinking to yourself, you know, I'm glad I have to do this in the end because I really could use an extra container in my kitchen.
And
I'll empty out all the grows. I'll have a new container for the leftover cholents or something.
most people would approach a barrel of figs and say, gee, I want some figs. Not I'm going to take the figs and I'm going to make a new barrel out of it. That's not your intention. Your intention is to eat
I
the figs.
understand. So you're saying, why mention it at all?
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, there are people who have two things in mind, especially women, right? I never met a woman who didn't have an ulterior motive, right? I'm probably going to get in trouble because this is going to probably be, televised all over. So. But
We're going to be clear.
But the truth of the matter is, I never said whether the ulterior motive is good or bad. Here it's good, right? Because she's thinking not only she gets the gorgos out, but she's also thinking in the back of her mind, and I'm going to use it for the leftover sardines. Right? Women always have these extra things in their mind, right? They're always thinking, I can do this, but I can do it, and later I'll use it for this.
If you open a bag of chips, you're not going to use that packet for
Okay,
anything
but that,
else.
see, that's the point. If in the end of the day we're learning over here, the Isser is making it into a Kli. So, okay, there's two ways you can approach this. The real problem is the Kavanah, so as long as I don't have the Kavanah, I'm okay. Or the Kavanah means that we're telling you don't do it. Having Kavanah means you're going to end up doing it. Right? So there's a way of opening up that's just a raw hole, which nobody would want to use. But if you're mechavan to make it into a Kli, say, look, why should I break it open in a way? You know what it's like? We once had a bathroom door that was stuck closed, that was locked closed. So I started just banging on it. It didn't really work. It just, basically ruined the door. When the guy came over to finally unlock the door, he said, "You idiot!" And he said it nicer than that, right?
Yeah.
Right? Just if you would have waited if you wouldn't have banged on it, I could have saved the door. Right? I have the kalim to open it up in a nice way that doesn't ruin your door. So maybe by saying don't have kavanah to make it into Kli means make a raw opening, but don't make a nice opening. Don't have kavanah to make it into Kli. Don't open it in a way that leaves it like a nice reusable Kli. Which, by the way, is one of the eights, is that if you do need to open something up, you poke a hole in it first. That means it's not going to be reusable, and then you open it up. So that way you never made a proper Kli.